Yeah, great. Good. Sorry. I'm very happy to be here to share with you about sensory and consumer behavior research that has been conducted in past few years in CFD for our team. So I'm using an example for future foods. So compared to Dr. Linda, so I give a more general view on that. So in this talk, we will be focused on three main aspects: how we are going to investigate about the future foods, from the first one to understand about the consumer and their perception. And second one is what are the sensory space for acceptance. And the third one, how to link consumer and sensory drivers to intent and behavior. So using a case study of future foods. I'm not going to introduce a lot on future foods. I think this is a very hot topic nowadays. So you all understand, and you also must be working a lot with future food as well. So we first go into how we understand the consumers. So for that, the study team first conduct review to understand about consumer motivation of future foods, for example, alternative proteins. So there are a lot of different factors that drive consumer eating alternative proteins. Among those, most consumers has mentioned about health. Health seems to be the most concern of consumer when they decide to consume alternative proteins. Since health is one of the most important concerns, so the study team has conducted a cross-cultural online study to investigate how consumers perceive the plant-based meat alternative in comparison to the conventional meat. So the participant has instructed to present with a photo with chicken rice. So the chicken rice in particular picture has been replaced with plant-based meat, and the consumers were asked to estimate what are the nutrients from the chicken rice in comparison to the animal meat, for example, proteins, sodium, as well as the total calories intake. So this was conducted among the New Zealand consumers as well as the Singaporean consumers. And we found that most respondents that perceive a plant-based chicken rice have a significant less calories, less sodium, either less or equal protein compared to the conventional chicken rice that is made by animal, the real chicken. And if comparison between the East and the West consumer perceptions, so the Singapore consumers were more likely to expect the plant-based chicken rice contain a lot less calories, and less volume compared to our New Zealand counterparts. So this suggests that Singaporean consumer has basically a more positive perception towards a plant-based meat alternative compared to the New Zealand consumers. And because we understand what are the consumer perception, what are the driver of consumers towards plant-based meat, and another thing to be mentioned about that is a different consumer segment. So we have different consumers, those who consume meats or animals, also have those who consume flexitarian. So who are on flexitarian diets are people who intentionally to reduce the meat intake at least once in a week. So we're wondering what are different motivation or driver to make those consumers eating plant-based meat. So we investigate the psychological traits and the food-related psychological aspect of their motivation to adopt flexitarian diets. So we conduct online questionnaire on around 317 participants, and there's a tool to classify the flexitarians based on their motivation. And then we found our result by the consumers, the flexitarians, into different motivation based on adventures, health-driven, as well as a trend cautious. These studies has been followed up with another in-person studies in our laboratory to see whether different message that distributes based on the products that can resonate well with their different motivation among the flexitarians. But due to the time concern, so these studies has not been presented over here. So since we understand about the consumer, so I'm going to give you some examples that we did for the sensory space for acceptance. So we conduct studies to characterize the sensory profile of available plant-based meat alternative in Asian markets. So there are three categories of food products. There's chicken, pork, and fish. And within each category, we have 3 different product types. And within each product types, we have shortlisted 2 products with different brand. That's from plant-based, and another one is from animal-based to make as a control comparisons. So in total, the study team has profiled about 27 plant-based and plant-based meat products in Asian markets, as well as the animal meat products. So you can see based on the result for the PCL over there. So the plant-based meat products do have a very distinct sensory characteristic compared to the animal meat products that's been classified as class 1. So the plant-based meat products are associated with being of flavors, grittiness, and oily mouthfeel, which are still undesirable sensory characteristics. Since we know that there are very distinct sensory characteristics between plant-based products as well as their animal-based. So normally in the consumer studies, we always tracking on liking, acceptance. So if we move beyond liking, is there any emotionals like happiness or satisfied, disgusting, those positive and negative emotional, as well as product reward association? For example, when you eat a product, you feel healthy, you feel nutritious, but those are actually products reward, but it's not related with emotion. Are those actually associated with the sensory profile of particular products? So we conduct studies using yogurt as well as milk together with their plant-based alternative. And in pair, so for the milk, we pair with coffee as well. They consume alone and with coffee. For the yogurt, we pair with food puree. So in pairing condition and without pairing condition. So we investigate about their sensory profiles as well as food reward association or emotion profile using a dynamic method. There's a key part. Temporal check all that apply approach. So the sensory one, we use a trend panel, but the consumer one, we use a landman panel. So we're going to investigate to see is there any association. Because the graph looks a bit messy here, so I summarize as the key findings in words. So basically, we found that there are some connection between sensory profile towards the emotion profiles, their specific connection, as well as the food reward association. And for example, you see over here, when we add coffee to the milk, that did not affect the dynamic sensory and emotion as well as the food reward perceptual differences. But for the yogurt, so they do not affect the sensory perception, but they do influence the emotions. So it means that the sensitivity to discriminate between the yogurt can be decreased through the improved product or consumer experience. So that actually suggests that there is a new approach where we look beyond the liking. So there's a connection between emotion or food reward association towards sensory profile. And with pairing of food, that those are undesirable emotion or food reward association can be dismissed. So they can give a very clear or new approach when we are going to do for food products development. So other than that, there was some product context appropriateness. So based on the previous literature, some products may be liked by others, but once the products were not in the usual form that people know about that, the liking can be decreased. So we wanted to know how products context appropriateness of seaweed over food can influence the acceptance. So we investigate into 3 different stimuli. So you have the texture difference, hard and soft, carrier, savory or sweet carrier, and visible or invisible seaweed by the products. So as mentioned by Dr. Linda, so vision is quite important. So that's why we incorporate this into the product's context appropriateness, and we investigate about how that influences the consumer acceptance. So based on the result, the seaweed products with visible visual cues, hard texture, and savory carrier have a significant liking and purchase willingness. So you can see here for most to least impact on acceptance, there will be from visual, carrier, and texture. So there is a synchronized effect. So the synergy has been shown when we have a seaweed product with harder potential and visible that can increase the acceptance in overall consumer in Singapore. But unfortunately, these studies only carry out in Singapore. We would like to extend this to any Western consumer as well to see is there any cultural influence added into this product context appropriately. And last, how we are going to bring a consumer incentive driver to put impact and behavior. So we know not only food type that influence our acceptance and consumption, there are also environments that can influence. So in this study, this is an online study, we have around 800 participants, and we subdivide the participants into omnivores and flexitarians based on their meat consumption status. And we have 4 different environments whereby the home has served as a control environment, and hawker center is a very significant local Singaporean environment, as well as we have restaurant that has been characterized as nature as well as urban restaurant. And we have 3 different meal types. There's from animal meal, plant meals, as well as a hybrid meal. So based on this study, we found that eating environments mainly influence the consumer perception, that's healthiness and naturalness, while the meal types can influence the consumer acceptance and consumption. There is no combined impact between eating environment and meal types. Well, the hybrid meals actually show a very potential strategy to suggest, to encourage alternative protein consumption, especially in heavy meat eaters. So home would be the most promising eating environment compared to the hawker, which is quite noisy and crowded, to promote alternative protein. So we don't want the consumer just to go and try alternative protein for one time, but we would like to sustain their consumption and make it habitual. And the last one is the current studies that we had. So other than that, so sensories and consumer drivers are not only important in acceptance and consumption, but can be important in health aspect as well. So these are feeding trials where we have beef protein, pea protein, and soy protein meals. All those meals have been equal from energy, from macronutrients, energy density, as well as overall grain and calories served. So we wanted to investigate whether the factors of different protein source or the factors from different protein one being based on the DS4, they actually influence the satiety and the satisfaction as overall. So these studies currently is ongoing. So we don't really have any result to share. We hope to share in the future. So there are some take-home message. So the sensory cue play a very critical role in the trade-off between the acceptance and consumption, as well as perception. So when you combine sensory consumer-based methods, they actually can provide us a comprehensive understanding of how food products or food products or perceptions, while we integrate the sensory science into nutrition and health, can moderate consumer interaction with food environment and shape our eating behaviors and intake. With that, thank you very much.